Hi everyone, it's Chenzo from Reality Art Pod. I'm here to talk about the Challenge USA Season 2 Finale, Episode 14, The Pursuit of Glory. So I guess another constitutional reference with this episode title. I hate to roast so early in the video, but throughout the entire season, these episode titles have sucked. Fire the intern, fire the intern. Before I dive in, if you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe. I'm also going to link in the subject of this video the full playlist of all my Challenge USA Season 2 videos. So let's dive into it. We're at the final. There's only 8 players left, and I said last week that my money would be on Michaela and Chris to win this. The show only has an hour to get all of this done, so they get straight to the field for their final. I love how the Challenge USA gets straight to business with the finals. It's one part, one episode, one and done. Desie reminds us that last season her partner Enzo quit and she was eliminated, so she's trying to redeem herself here. The first day of the final will be in 4 parts. It'll be 4 trials. If they win a trial, they get a 1-minute advantage in the second part the following day. If they come in last place, they'll get a 1-minute disadvantage. They also have the option to double down. If they double down, they can either score double points or lose double points. It's all super complicated, but works really well. TJ reminds them that the top man and top woman will get their share at $500,000. Chris tells us that he wants not only to beat his competitors, but to completely crush them. Chanel says that she's proud of she, Michaela, and Desie, that they will be role models for young black girls out there, and that she feels like she's redeemed herself from her Survivor run. Trial number 1 is strength. They have to carry heavy boxes on a sled to the top of a hill. Corey decides to double down on this challenge, and he shows us a picture of his family for motivation. This challenge is a lot of chaos, a lot of hubbub and racket with all the boxes being thrown around. Chris ends up winning the challenge in the minute advantage. Corey comes in last for the guys and gets a 2-minute disadvantage, which seems like a really big setback. For the women, Michaela comes in first and Tori comes in last and gets a penalty. The second trial is smarts. It's pretty much a spelling bee. Desie and Chris double down. We learn that Tori is not a very good speller, and Corey spells vengeance as venganse. Bananas especially makes a meal out of Corey writing venganse on his board. Bananas and Desie, who double down, are the winners. Corey and Tori are the losers and get another penalty each. Next, they have a skills trial, which is pretty much just filling up a Connect 4 board with all of the pieces without getting 4 in a row. Tori, Bananas, and Michaela double down, and Fessy and Tori, who ended up doubling down, win the challenge points. Corey and Desie get the disadvantage. The fourth trial is eating, called Steel Stomach. They have to drink sauerkraut and eat worms and wasabi on a cracker stack and chili truffles. As usual, everyone is gagging and throwing up all over the place. The sound of the puking and gagging is Chris's kryptonite, but Tori is loving her food. Michaela doesn't understand how Tori is enjoying this. Michaela says, "I don't have a gas station palate. I'm a high society lady." I know a lot of people love seeing all this vomiting. I think that the vomiting is gross. I'm not including photos of the vomit. If you want to see vomit, watch this episode. Tori and Bananas end up winning the challenge, and Chanel and Corey get the penalty. They end up having to camp and sleep outside, and Bananas is happy that he did well in his trials. He said he's happy that he's good at stupid shit. They get to day 2 of the final, and it's a 10-mile race. Along the way, there are 3 risk stations. The first 2 stations are optional, but if they get those 2, they'll have a significant advantage. The last man and the last woman to the second risk station will be eliminated, and the third station is mandatory. They lead the start based on their times allocated in the stage the day before. I'm glad they do it this way and not shaving off or adding the time at the end. They start off running along the gorgeous cliffs of wherever the hell they are. Bananas leaves first, and Corey is way behind everybody else. At risk station 1, they can untie axes and throw them at a target. If they get 1 axe, they can take a shortcut that saves 1.2 miles off their run, which is so much mileage. I really like this final and how it's designed as a choose your own adventure, because the final result really is dictated by the choices that they make, not how fast that they're running. Bananas, Chris, Michaela, Desie, Chanel, and Corey all risk it and succeed. Fessy and Tori fail and have to do the miles. Fessy ends up running down the shortcut road when he's supposed to be running down the loser road that's 1.2 miles longer. I feel like someone should have just told him he was going the wrong way. He shouldn't have been allowed to go that way. So risk station 2 is balancing scales. They have only one chance to basically put rocks in a basket and balance out a scale. If they succeed with it, they can take an ATV to the next station, but only one person can go at a time. So if someone gets there before you, you can choose to wait for them to finish and then go, or you can just start running. So Chris gets to the balancing station first and nails it. So he gets in his ATV and drives off into the sunset. When Fessy gets there, TJ says he has to go back a half mile because he took a shortcut that he didn't earn, but the shortcut ended up saving him 1.2 miles, so he really should have gone back 0.6, but whatever, it doesn't end up mattering. Michaela and Desie end up getting to the second station at around the same time. Desie goes first, and Michaela doesn't have the patience to wait to try, so Michaela takes off running. Bananas fails to do the balance test and he has to go on foot. Desie nails the balance challenge and she gets to take the ATV. Corey and Chanel also then nail the balance challenge and they get ATVs as well. Getting the ATVs ends up being clutch because everyone that got those gets to speed past everyone that's running. and they're saving energy by getting to sit in the ATV. Tori and Fessy are the last two to arrive at Station 2 and are eliminated from the game. TJ doesn't even hang around there to tell them, he just leaves them a little handwritten note. So let's talk about them in the order that they were eliminated. I guess Fessy did worse than Tori because he got the penalty, so I'll talk about him first. I feel like Fessy had a really strong chance to win this season. He came into it super focused. He didn't get distracted along the way. He had a pretty easy ride through the whole season. He was always in the power structure and always being protected. There was never a time when anyone wanted him out of the game. I don't have too much to say about him. I think that making that wrong turn was a really boneheaded mistake, but I don't think he was going to win this anyways. Better to make the mistake now and learn the lesson than make the mistake when you're on the main show and in first place. I really do feel like Fessy will win a challenge one day. He has such a high likelihood of making it to a final in any season that he's on, as long as it's individual. He has the ability to make it to finals through his elimination ability, but he just needs to make it to more finals to get more opportunities to try. And talking about Tori, who came into the season off a win, she won one elimination earlier in the season against Shanae, which I feel like really spooked a lot of the other contestants. I feel like the other girls were kind of scared or intimidated by her, but I don't know if they really needed to be. Tori kind of got bodied by these three rookies in this final. I like Tori, I always have, but I'm beginning to feel like we've seen the best that we're going to see from Tori. I wouldn't be surprised if she started consistently going home before finals, or like never winning a challenge again. Part of me feels like she just wasn't even really trying to win this. Moving forward, in the third station, they have to stack cinder blocks that have their eliminated castmates' names on them in the order that they were eliminated. This task seemed pretty easy. No one was really struggling with it. Chris gets it done first and he can head to the summit. Corey and Desie follow, then Bananas, Chanel, and Michaela. It ends up being a long journey to the summit and the finish line. They're all exhausted. Michaela's body gives out on her. Chris ends up making it to the top first and is the champion for the men. We get a montage of his moments throughout the season and it's nice. Corey comes second and gets a fatherly hug from TJ. Desie comes in first for the women and has a great emotional confessional. She's followed by Chanel, and it looks like Michaela doesn't complete this final. So let's talk about these people, starting with Michaela. I love Michaela on Survivor. I think that she has such a great personality. We really were so robbed by her going home so early on her first challenge season, and it was nice seeing her come on here and really kick ass consistently throughout the whole season. She's everything you could really ask for in a challenger. She brings the drama, she brings entertainment, she's strong in challenges, and she faces her fears. The big downfall here for Michaela was that one decision not to do the balancing thing and to not get the ATV. She ended up being way too exhausted to complete it and probably was running to try to beat an ATV in a foot race. And I commend her for that because she was trying to win. So even though she didn't finish this one, I definitely want to see her back on the Challenge USA or on the Challenge main show. And I actually feel very similarly about Chanel, who felt like she had a lot to prove coming from Survivor, and I feel like she really did enough to justify bringing her back. In terms of redeeming herself, I really do feel like she achieved that aim, but there really wasn't a bigger story here for Chanel. We also didn't get a lot of personal content from her, so I would like to see her back. I would like to see her in eliminations. I would like to see her get into an argument, have some drama, some real worldly stuff. But I would definitely welcome her back. We have Bananas, who I feel like was like Tori, where it was like, all right, I'll come, it's fun. He also had a pretty easy ride the whole way through, but I don't feel like this is like the Bananas who's trying to win so badly. But it was a good showing for him. It was a good season, not the best, not the worst. This season, if anything, had some of his most funny moments. Corey did well this season, but I never felt like he was going to win because he was such a background character. He got some personal content that one episode, but I knew that was because he was about to win the challenge or go home, and he ended up winning the challenge that episode. But this Corey, without his little friends, is the best version of Corey. I still see him as someone that will never win the challenge, but I don't mind him being on the show. We have our female champion, Desie. She deserves this because I actually think she would have won the last season if she wasn't pitted with Enzo. She had personal content throughout the season explaining how much winning the challenge and being on the challenge means to her, and I actually think that her being on the show is a lot of really great representation and means a lot for the show. I would like to see her more often. I think that now that she's a champion, she should be asked back as often as possible. I also think that she can give a lot of mainstay people on the main show a good run for their money. So this was nice, and I especially love when there's a brand new female champion. And finally, I've been predicting this all season, but Chris is the male champion. This was some of the most obvious editing that I've ever seen in my life. We had personal content from Chris almost every episode this season. We were getting pictures of his kids and his partner like multiple times. This really was the season of Chris, and he really deserved it. He worked his ass off all season long, and he really did have a lot to prove because a lot of people really do rank him lowly on their list of Survivor winners. So I feel like Chris is good for the challenge, and the challenge is good for Chris. So that's really all I have to say about this episode, other than the fact that the wasabi crackers actually looked really good. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to be covering season 39 of the main show of the challenge, which is right around the corner, so I hope to see you there. Bye!